Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here in 4Ks. And it is October, and I make no guarantees about every video being horror related, but this round is going to be. We're going to talk about some Scream Factory titles, some new 4Ks and Blu-rays, and some fun stuff that you may enjoy for your October viewing. And let's start with the new 4K of Night of the Demons from 1988. This one is directed by Kevin Tenney. And Kevin Tenney had previously done a little movie called Witchboard in 1986. And that had been a big hit. And so he found another script and decided to make Night of the Demons, which is a movie with a pretty solid cult following, due in no small part to the presence of Linnea Quigley, among others. But it's all about a woman. Well, it's about a group of kids, basically. Amelia Kincaid is one of the big stars in the movie as well. She plays Angela. She's having a Halloween party. The movie's previous title from the script phase was actually Halloween Party, but apparently there was some legal friction from Mustafa Akkad about using the word Halloween in the title of a movie in 1988, and the producers perhaps wisely decided to, and the filmmaker decided to change the title to Night of the Demons. The only thing I will say is that now that causes some issue with me recommending the 1957 Jacques Tourneur film, which goes by a couple titles, Curse of the Demon, but also Night of the Demon. And that's one of my favorite, classic horror films, period. But when you say Night of the Demon, I think sometimes people think you mean Night of the Demons, so you have to be careful. Anyway, it's a good title for this movie. It definitely fits. This group of kids goes to this creepy, I guess it's like a crematorium, and they do a little seance, and a demon is unleashed and possesses one of them, and then it sort of starts to possess multiples of them, and they sort of start tearing each other apart. It is a very entertaining and very 80s horror movie that a lot of people really enjoy. And this one had been out previously from Scream Factory in a Blu-ray edition, but this is a new 4K Ultra HD Collector's Edition, which is doing it right in that it is a brand new 4K scan of the uncut camera negative in Dolby Vision, and it includes a bunch of new features. Now, the back lists them as mostly being on the Blu-ray, but in actuality, when I looked at the 4K, which looks very, very nice, obviously I say this a lot with these 4Ks, this is the best I've ever seen this movie look. And so, if you're a fan, you're not going to be disappointed with this transfer. It's really, really beautiful. But what I do love, again, is that lately we've seen a lot of upgrades, Criterion, that don't include much new in the way of features. And so it's tough for us collectors to justify buying a new movie just for the new transfer. But when you add in extra bonus stuff, I think it makes it a lot easier for collectors. I know it's expensive. I know it's not free to produce that content. And I know that these are businesses and they have bottom lines to think about. But I'm just saying, from the collector point of view, it's always easier to justify a new purchase with 4K, especially where you have new stuff. So anyway, point being is that this new disc has a whole bunch of new stuff, and a lot of it is on the 4K, which, some will say, okay, I don't need it on the 4K because that's going to take up more room and will affect the bit rate and blah, blah, blah. And I get that. But I kind of like just having it all in one place so I don't have to get up and change the disc. Anyway, So let's talk about what's on this disc. It's really, really stacked. The commentaries, I'm not sure if any of them are new. I think the commentaries are all older, but they're really great. So you have the first commentary with director Kevin Tenney, actors Kathy Podwell, and Billy Gallo, Hal Havens, special makeup effects creator Steve Johnson. That commentary, interestingly enough, is on Tubi. You can watch the movie. You can't watch Night of the Demons on Tubi, I don't think, but you can watch it with that commentary. So if you want to sample or listen to the whole commentary, you can on Tubi, and that's just one of 3 commentaries. So let's talk about the other 2. The second one was with director Kevin Tenney, producer Jeff Joffre, and executive producer Walter Jostin. And the third one is with Kevin Tenney and actors Linnea Quigley and Philip Tanzini and casting director Tedra Gabriel. So you get 3 commentary tracks. That's pretty great. Kevin Tenney is on all of them, so that's super cool. There's a little repetition of some stories on there, but they go into all kinds of stuff about the production, the animated title sequence, what have you. It's a really neat thing, and you get the actors' recollections in the midst of those commentaries. But then we have a bunch of several new interviews here. We have a new one called See You in Hell, an interview with writer-producer Joe Augustin, 35 minutes, and this is talking to the screenwriter, and he talks about, all kinds of things from how he got started with the script and how demons are an anything goes kind of proposition for monsters. And yeah, it's very, it gets very involved in, his process and his memories of this film. And so it's good to have him involved. He's not on any of the commentaries, but he is in making of, which I'll get to in a little bit. Then there's another, that's a 35-minute interview, like I said. And then there's another one, Coffins and Contortions, a new interview with actress Jill Terashita, who plays Franny in the movie. She's the girlfriend to Philip Tanzini's character. It's about 18 minutes, and she talks about getting cast in the film and her memories of the production, and very nice stuff. Then there's, in terms of new stuff, I might have to wait until I get to the Blu-ray features for the other new stuff. I'll talk about that in a second. But also included on this disc is something called The Perfect Punk, which is an interview with special effects artist Nick Benson. It's about 9 minutes. And this includes the international cut, which is 1 hour, 29 minutes, 46 seconds, versus the 1 hour, 29 minutes, 40 seconds of the uncut version. Interestingly enough, that's the version that we watch on the disc. This international version is a 4:3, lower quality. Looks like it's been up-res to HD, but that's included as well. So a whole other version of the movie. So that's the 4K. And then the Blu-ray brings back a bunch of features, but let's talk about the new stuff first. It now includes the Halloween Party work print, which is an hour and 28 minutes under the original title of the movie, as I mentioned. That's an SD. And then it has an alternate opening sequence, which looked a lot like the regular sequence, but I think a different title. Both of those are new features as well. So you're getting, multiple versions of the movie and the new scan. So it's not a ton of new stuff, but it is a good, 50 minutes of interviews and additional versions of the movie, and I think that's pretty cool. But they're also bringing along the making of The Night of the Demons, which is an hour and 11 minutes. So basically full-length documentary with Kevin Tenney, producer Walter Jostin, producer Jeff Joffre, Kevin Kuchever, and another woman who worked on the animated title sequence. Writer, producer Joe Augustin is here, and then a whole bunch of the actors, pretty much the main cast, and then some. So you have Linnea Quigley, Kathy Podwell, Hal Havens, Amelia Kincaid, Alvin Alexis, Allison Barron, Donnie Jeffcoat, Billy Gallo, James Quinn, Lance Fenton, special makeup effects man Steve Johnson, and stuntman John Stewart. And then you have another interview I'm not sure if they reused some of the material from it for the making of, but it's Amelia Kincaid Protean. It's a 22.5-minute interview with her. And then Alison Barton's Demon Memories, which is about 4 minutes of pictures I think she might have taken during the production, and she talks about them. My Demon Nights, an interview with Linnea Quigley, about 14 minutes. Some alternate R-rated sequences, about 3 minutes. And then a short Night of the Demons, a 6-minute version of the film shown to potential distributors, plus trailers, TV spots, radio spot, promo reel, still galleries, behind the scenes, and special effects and makeup. So a lot of great stuff. And I should mention specifically Steve Johnson as a guy who had worked with Rick Baker and was just opening his own shop. And I think he says in the interviews and stuff that this was one of their first big movies that they worked on with his shop. But I mean, he would go on to do things like Lord of Illusions, Species 2, Spider-Man 2, The Village. I mean, he would go on to do a ton of stuff. And that's just a very brief, sort of summation of his stuff, because he had worked on a bunch of films prior to doing his own thing. So he's got a ton of, he comes up on the next movie I'm going to talk about as well. Anyway, great effects, very gory and creative and memorable. And so that really, I think, is part of the reason this movie is so beloved, especially this time of year. So anyway, a really nice release of Night of the Demons. If you're a fan, you'll definitely want to pick this up for the new transfer and the new extras. But well worth your time. This is a 4K and a Blu-ray included here in a nice slipcase. No reversible artwork, but just wanted to check that. Okay, so this movie is getting released with Night of the Demons 2. And this is from a few years later. We now have a different director. We have Brian Trenchard Smith, who is just a great Australian director who did a ton of wonderful genre movies that I'm a big fan of him as a director in general. Did some crazy stunt movies, Stunt Rock being one of them. He did a great Vietnam movie, that's Siege of Firebase Gloria. He did tons of stuff, BMX Bandits. I'm just a big Trenchard Smith fan. And he's also really great on Trailers from Hell. If you haven't seen his Trailers from Hell, he's just a well-spoken, intelligent, articulate, but very funny guy. So he directs this second version, and the only person returning in the cast is, I want to say, Amanda Kincaid? Is that who I'm thinking of? Yeah, I think so. Amelia Kincaid is the only one that comes back for this one. So otherwise, it's a whole new cast. And the back says, it's Halloween and the teenagers from St. Rita's High School want to party at the neighborhood's haunted house. For years, whole house sat in eerie silence. Tales of its haunted past have turned into gory jokes, and no one really believes anything ever happened there. However, Angela, Amelia Kincaid, the hostess from hell, is summoning her army of teen demons to the blood-curdling contest between the school's priests and herself, the Princess of Darkness. What was intended as an innocent evening of fun and games turned into a hell-raising, life-threatening ordeal. They wanted fun. Now they're in trick-or-treat party for their lives. This cast includes... Well, I'll go through it in a second. But like I said, this is an interesting sequel. It's made in 1994, so several years later. Same producers, new director. One of the things I love that they do, and this disc had been available, or this movie had been available on Blu-ray via Olive Films back in 2013, but it was bare bones, and so this version is considerably better in that it includes multiple commentaries. You have one with actors Christy Harris, Jennifer Rhodes, Johnny Moran, and Darren Heems. as well as an audio commentary with Brian Trenchard Smith and his director of photography, David Lewis, who I believe was the DP on the first movie. I could be wrong. But it has, what I really love is a new interview that's called A Tale of Two Demons, with directors Kevin Tenney and Brian Trenchard Smith discussing their respective entries in the Night of the Demons trilogy, but it's more or less Kevin Tenney interviewing Brian Trenchard Smith, who's drinking a beer, which I love, about his experience working on the film, and they kind of go back and forth. It's very, game recognizes game, very complimentary of each other, and they're just two directors that I enjoy hearing discuss film. So really great. That's an hour and 10 minutes, so that alone is really a wonderful new feature. Then they have Trick or Treat Sucker. This is a new interview with actor Amelia Kincaid, about 25 minutes or so, and talking about being brought back for the sequel and her memories of it. Then we have a bunch new interviews with the other actors. We have Red Curls and Screams, an interview with actor Christy Harris, about 21 minutes. A Sequel with Guts, interview with producer Jeff Joffrey, almost 13 minutes. This has a new Night of the Demons 2 work print, which is an hour and 38 minutes, 28 seconds versus the hour 35 minutes and 40 seconds of the... This doesn't mention a new scan, so I'm guessing it's an older scan. There's something that's called Dailies from the Demon, I think, and it's supposed to be an hour of dailies from the set. And I think it's actually almost 2 hours and 9 minutes of dailies, so you can watch behind the scenes sort of dailies that the film was assembled from, and that's kind of neat too. On top of that, you have an interview with special effects artist Steve Johnson that's almost 48 minutes. That's not new. That must be from some other release somewhere, but it's great to hear him talking about his effects and what he wanted to do with the film, and so that's very enjoyable stuff. So Night of the Demons 2, if you're a fan, and you should be, it's a solid entry in the trilogy. There's actually 3 of these films, although I haven't seen the third, and it's pretty well maligned, even by Brian Trenchard Smith and Kevin Tenney in their interviews. So there's that. But Night of the Demons and Night of the Demons 2, you get a 4K and a Blu-ray collector's edition from Scream Factory. I've got a few more Scream Factory titles. We have My Demon Lover. This is stuff I just picked up from Diabolic DVD, which is a highly recommended place to pick up titles. This one has Scott Valentine from Family Ties. True love has many faces and sometimes claws and a tail. In the frighteningly funny romance My Demon Lover, the happy-go-lucky but lonely Kaz, Scott Valentine, is looking for love when he meets Denny, Michelle Little, who's in Apollo 13 apparently, a kind-hearted young woman with an uncanny ability to attract stray pets and down-and-out boyfriends. Denny is sure she's met the man of her dreams when she sweeps Kaz off the streets and into her heart, but it's anything but a match made in heaven when she discovers that Kaz is afflicted by a curse that turns him into a horny monster literally whenever he's turned on. Will Denny be able to bring out the best and not the beast in her newfound paranormal paramour? And you can see on the back what he looks like when he gets into that state. So this is a very fun sort of horror comedy, but it's a little more dramatic than that, and it's just one of those that I remember fondly from the 80s New Line output. This is from 87, and I think it's New Line. Pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. It's Bob Shea produced, so I guess I assumed that, but maybe I'm incorrect in assuming that. Anyway, it's a memorable one from the 80s that I think is not as well remember. I mean, memorable, and if you've seen it, you remember it. But if you didn't see it, it's because you probably missed it out that it ever existed. You know, it's one of those that could have slipped under the radar for some folks. So I was just excited to get this in a new 2K scan from the Inner Positive. New Dating is Hell, Making My Demon Lover, featuring interviews with director Charlie Loventhal, actor Scott Valentine, Michelle Little, and Robert Trebor. As well as new Monster Next Door, Inside the FX, interview with makeup effects artist Doug Drexler, a new Rune Tunes, Scoring My Demon Lover, interview with composer David Newman. I forgot David Newman did the music for this. But yeah, just nice to see this one. This is a Warner title. It had previously been on DVD from Warner Archive, and so I wasn't sure we were going to get a Blu-ray from anyone else. And if it was Warner Archive, it wasn't going to have all these extra features. So I'm glad that Warner is licensing. And we've talked about this, I'm sure, at some point, or you've heard about it on other channels. It's neat to see Warner Brothers licensing out their genre films to these boutiques so we can get some of these with nice features. So anyway, I'm looking forward to watching My Demon Lover this October. And then lastly, we have My Bloody Valentine on 4K. Very excited about this. I'm not the only one who I think considers this one of the better slasher films from the cycle in the 80s. It's truly a gem for slasher fans. How do they describe it on the back here? On Valentine's Day, someone always loses their heart. 20 years ago, this small town lost more than that when supervisors abandoned their posts to attend the town's annual holiday dance. A tragedy claimed the lives of 5 minors. The sole survivor, Harry Warden, was institutionalized but returned for a vengeful massacre on the disaster's first anniversary. 19 years later, the town is gearing up for another Valentine's Day party. Teen sweethearts TJ and Sarah, along with their friend Axel, are among the exciting partygoers. But when a box of candy containing an eerie warning and a blood-soaked heart arrive, that's a literal human heart, not anything else, the townsfolk realize that romance is as good as dead, and so are they. So this says, new 4K restoration in Dolby Vision, includes an audio commentary with director George Mihalka. This is a Canadian-produced film. So this is a 3-disc set. I didn't even realize that. So that first set disc is the 4K uncut version of the film. And then the Blu-ray includes that uncut version and that commentary, but it also includes My Bloody Valentine 35th Anniversary Cast Reunion panel with a bunch of the cast members and stuff. Thomas Kovacs performs The Ballad of Henry Warden at the Bay of Blood convention with Peter Cowper and Jim Murchison. And then on disc 3, we have the theatrical version and something called An Anthemic Valentine, an interview with George Mihalka, Friends of Mine, interview with Laurie Hallier, Axel Be My Valentine, interview with actor Neil Affleck, From the Heart, interview with actor Paul Kalman, Becoming Sylvia, interview with Helen Udy, and The Secret Keeper, interview with Rob Stein, Broken Hearts and Broken Bones, interview with special makeups effects designer Tom Berman, Holes in the Heart, a look at the differences between the theatrical and the uncut versions, plus theatrical trailers, TV spots, radio spots, etc. So I haven't even had a chance to bust this open because I was just going to be like, sure that I'll watch it during Halloween and the October viewing season. So very, very excited about this one. As I said, one of my favorite slasher films out there, and very psyched to have a bunch of new Scream Factory stuff to check out during this month. You know, going back to old favorites is certainly one of my favorite things to do. I'm sure it is for you as well. In fact, in the comments below, let me know what are some of your Halloween October go-tos if you're into that. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good spooky season. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.